everyone, welcome back to the C programming tutorial. These tutorials are brought to you by Zeedup Technologies. In the previous video, we introduced ourselves with the concept of file handling, and we saw an example in which we just created a file by the name myfile.txt and we wrote some data into the file. Since this file was the first one to be created, or no file by the name myfile was already existing, so first it was created and then this data was written into that file. Now what we are going to do is we are going to actually use the append mode of the file that we read about or we learned about in the previous video. So for that purpose, what you need to do is everything is going to remain same. That is, you are supposed to create a file pointer for the file type like this, file asterisk the name of the file pointer, and then the difference is in the opening mode. In case you are trying to add some data or to update the contents of the file, you need to open your file in the append mode instead of the write mode. Okay. So here instead of W, you can simply provide a small a, and this will change the file to an appending mode or an appending operation. Now whatever data you want will be added after the data that is already existing into the file. So let us just use this fprintf function only to write some data or to append some data into the file, and we are going to append this is me appending data. So I'm just writing a simple message. You can write anything that you want, and then after you have used the fprintf function, you are supposed to close the file using the fclose operation or the fclose function and providing the file pointer as the argument. Okay, so this is how you can actually append the file or how you can update the file. So let us just clear up some comments. We have seen how to open a file, we have seen how to write into a file, we have seen how to create a file, and we have seen how to close a file. So we are left with read and update. We are right now using update. So let's just change this create to update because we are trying to update the file. Okay, or we are trying to append the file. Append and updation is same. And now let us just run this piece of code. And you can see the output we got is process returned 0. 0 means a safe exit code, or that we have successfully executed our program. There was no error in its execution. And now what we can do to cross check is we can just go to the location where our file was created. We can just double click on it. And here you can see hello world through file handling. This was our first line. And in the second line we have got this is me appending data, which means the file is now appended, right? We can just close it and come back to our code blocks IDE. So here, if you can see, I have provided a \n. This means that whatever stuff I provided or whatever message I provided, it would go into the next line. Okay. So like this, you can provide as many escape sequences as you want, and it would be treated as per their function. Like if you provide with \t, it would just put a tab between the words and so on. So this is how you can open a file for appending, right? And let us now see that how can you read from a file. So for that, what we are going to do is we are just going to comment out all this piece of code by selecting it, going to edit, and there is this option of comment. So all this piece of code is now commented. What we have got for ourselves is a file pointer fp, and using this file pointer, we are going to read some data. Up till now what we were doing is we were creating the file and we were manually going to the location where the file was stored, and then we were reading the data directly from the file in the form of a notepad. But now what we want to do is we want to read the file through the C program, and we want to show its data in our output screen. So this is the read operation of the file. So how can we perform the read operation? In order to perform the read operation, you need two things. The first one is a file pointer, which we have already created using this file fp. The second thing you need is a character array. Why a character array? Because string is treated as a character array in C. That's why to store the data of the file, we need to actually create some vessel where it is going to hold the data. So for that purpose, we need a character array which will hold all the data in the file, and then we would be displaying that particular data. So let's see that how can we work with it. So let's just create a character array, and this character array is like D or data, whatever name you want to give it, you can just give it. And then you need to provide a size. Since there are 2 lines, so it could be a big size, so I'm taking 255. Okay, just so that none of my data is lost. Then what we are going to do is we are going to make sure that first of all we open the file. Okay, so again we need to open the file, but this time we are going to open it in another mode, and this mode is known as the read mode. This is the third mode known as the read mode. So for that we again need to use the fopen function, fp equals to fopen. Within double quotes we need to specify the name of the file, which is nothing but myfile.txt. Then after putting a comma in double quotes we need to specify the mode, which is the read mode in our case, right? Then what we can do is we can just read the data from the file, but there is a condition that we can start it from the first character and we need to end it at a particular character, right? So luckily in file handling, or whenever the files are created through C, we have got something known as end of file character, which is used to identify the end of the file. Like wherever the file is ending, there is a special character written, which is known as the end of file character, and with it we are able to identify that okay, our file is ending over here. So we are going to check for a condition that while this end of file character is not reached, we want the reading to continue, and as soon as it reaches, we just want to stop the reading of the file. Okay, so for that purpose what we can do is simply use a while loop over here. And in the while loop what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a function known as fscanf function. So just like the fprintf function, fscanf function also works just like a simple scanf function. It accepts 3 arguments. The first one is an fp, that is the file pointer from where you have opened the file and from on which you want to perform some of the operations. Then again it expects a type, that is the placeholder, which is mod s in our case because the strings are what we are dealing with. And then after a comma it expects the data or the name of the character array to which you want to store your data. Then this is the function which is going to help us to read the characters from a file, and when we have read a single character we want to compare it that whether it is equal to the end of file or not. So this when we have provided not equals to end of file, with this means that this while loop will continue until and unless we have encountered this end of file. So we need to read the file until and unless this end of file is encountered or the file is reached to the end. Okay, then what do we need to do is we need to simply use the printf function. Why we are using the printf function over here? Because whatever the data we get, we want to print it on the output screen, right? So that's why we have used this printf function. And since what we are going to print is a string value, so let us just provide mod s for a placeholder, and putting a comma we can just write this data. So this whole everything that is stored in this data would be printed on the screen. And then the last option, last but not the least, is we need to close this file using fclose operation. And how can we identify which file we want to close? By providing it with a file pointer, that is nothing but fp, right? And then we can just close this statement by providing a semicolon. So let's just build it and run it and see what happens. So you can see that here is the output that we have got. Hello world through file handling. This is me appending data. So actually we have got the whole of the data, but you can see the spaces have been compressed. There is no new line. This is because there is no way through which those could be understood by C, and this is actually how you are going to get the output from a file in C. So this is not the accurate output, but we are able to get the essence that how can we just actually work with the files through C. So right now we were working all about the text files, what happens if you want to work with a binary files. So a very simple thing when you want to work with binary files is in this mode. Suppose here we have provided R, which means we want to read it. But if you want to work with a binary file, you can just provide RB, which means you want to read this file, but not in a simple mode, not in a text mode, but in a binary mode. Simply, if you want to write it in a binary mode, you can provide WB or appending with AB. That's it for file handling that you need to know in C, and thanks for watching.